Hey guys, it's Hannah. I wanted to make a quick video about hope. Quick disclaimer and trigger warning. I will be talking about depression and topics along that line, so just wanted to let you know beforehand. All right, about hope. Um, a lot of people, when they go through depression, they get a lot of advice, such as you need to hang on because life is worth living. You need to hang on because there's hope. And when I personally went through depression for about 3 years, and it was very, very severe, I would always hear, it gets better. You need to have hope. Things will get better. But when I went through that, it was sort of like, you know how everyone talks about the light at the end of the tunnel? Well, it's as if I was in the tunnel and I could see the end of it, just barely, but I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. For me, my tunnel had no light. I didn't think things would get better, and I didn't expect them to. And so hearing, oh, you just need to hold on because things will get better, did nothing for me. I remember because during the 3 years, it was depression and it was also suicidal depression for 3 years or more. I'm not quite sure the exact dates, but um, I never had hope that my life would get better because my brain was so foggy and my moods were so low. And that was due to both mental depression, which I saw a psychologist for, as well as a physical condition. Two of them actually, hypoglycemia. It's a blood sugar condition that makes your moods get really low. And adrenal fatigue. It's where your adrenal glands, the ones that make the hormones that keep you awake, they stop working. So then you're tired all the time. Anyways, I'll link more info for those below. But what I want to say here is I didn't decide to get better because I thought there would be this great ending to it. I honestly, throughout my whole journey, there were only two times in those 3 years, maybe a couple more, but two times really stood out to me that I even had a glimpse of, okay, maybe I should stick around. And one of those was when Robin Williams died. And I loved him as an actor. He was one of my greatest inspirations. And I was extremely heartbroken when he died. And I haven't admitted this to anyone. I'm admitting it to you now on YouTube. That week, I was planning to not be here. The week before he died, I was making plans to, pack up my stuff and not stick around. If you catch what I'm saying. And then he passed away, and I remember I went to the mall that day. I had the day off work. I went to the mall and I was just so down. I didn't know if I would make it. But I remember thinking that maybe I would be missed as much as he would, by my friends and family. And in that moment, I missed him a lot. He was a really great role model, and I wondered if people would miss me too. So that gave me I wouldn't say that gave me hope to keep living, but that was just one clear example in my mind of when I even had the faintest thought that it would be worth living, or maybe that I should stick around. The second one was when my grandfather passed away in November of 2014, and he died of health concerns / natural causes. It wasn't like a suicide or anything. It was, more natural causes. But the instance that stood out for me, we were at my grandmother's house. We were planning the funeral for my grandfather. It was to be that weekend, so we were all planning it. I went out to get something. I came back, but they were all sitting around the table in the kitchen. I came back, and before I went into the kitchen, it's like around this little hallway, I stopped and I saw my family planning my grandfather's funeral, and I thought I never wanted to make them plan my funeral. And even though with every shred of fiber in my being, I did not want to be on that earth for the 3 years that I was plagued by depression, I realized in that moment that I did not want my family to plan my funeral. And that was the second moment that stood out in my mind as why I should be here. And I wish I could say that it was in that moment that I decided to make a change. But no, it wasn't until a couple months later that push came to shove and I actually started to change things. You see, I had been seeing a psychologist for a while because I've been having this for a while. For 3 years, like right when I started having symptoms, I was seeing a psychologist, which is really good and I highly recommend it. However, I didn't quite know, and I didn't want to invest in myself enough to see if I had a medical condition that could also be causing these symptoms as well. Because if you think about it logically, if you're already working with a psychologist, then you either need to take prescriptions to help your brain balance itself, as in like working with a psychiatrist, or maybe you have like an illness within your body that you actually need to see a doctor for. So in my mind, logically, that makes sense, but I just didn't care about myself enough to actually make an appointment with a doctor, get my blood checked, etc., and see if I actually had a physical condition. So I had those two pivotal moments, and I didn't take any action to go see a doctor. Actually, that's not true. I did see a doctor that summer. So Robin Williams had passed away that summer. I saw a doctor. I tried. I took a saliva test. You have to test your saliva if you want to test for adrenal fatigue. And it was, if I could just describe the experience in one sentence, the doctor's office was the doctor's office from hell. They were the most disorganized doctor's office with the worst staff you've ever met. They lost my test results. They were horrible. There was no one in the whole office, and they kept me waiting like an hour. They were so mean. It was awful. And so I gave up. And that was in summer. And then my grandfather passed away in November that same year. And I didn't take any action. I had just given up. Okay, all right, summer the next year. I'm pretty sure that was summer 2015. It was a really crazy time for me, and I explained to my mom how I felt. And instead of just saying, because I had always kind of said to my family members, I feel really depressed, I don't want to be on this planet anymore, blah, et cetera, et cetera. And like I was getting just enough help from like a psychologist that, like it was kind of like I was getting help, but I wasn't really doing the exact steps I needed that I knew I needed. But anyway, one night I got into detail about how I didn't want to be here anymore. I told my mom. I told my mom like details about how I wanted to end it. And at that night, my blood sugar was extremely low. And if you watch my other videos on hypoglycemia, you can see how intimately blood sugar and your moods are related. So if your blood sugar gets really low, especially if you have hypoglycemia, you're more likely to have extremely low moods and suicidal thoughts in my case. Anyways, my blood sugar got really low that night, and I had a heated argument, and I told my mom like how I planned to end it that night, and she's like, okay, I'm going to give you one choice. You can either, if you need to call the doctor tomorrow and make an appointment, or I'm going to call the police and have you Baker acted. Yeah. So my mom that night saved my life, because the next morning I made an appointment with the doctor. Within a couple weeks, I got my blood tested. The doctor looked at my results, and it was sort of like, no wonder you feel this way. Your blood sugar levels are off the charts. And I had a lot of other like vitamin imbalances. Like my vitamin D was below 25% of what it was like 20 in the like low 25% of what it should be, that's very dangerous as well. A whole bunch of like imbalances in my body. So I started getting treated by the doctor, got on a new diet plan. Within a couple months, I felt better, started to see things more clearly. My mood started improving. And then within a couple months after that, I broke down and started crying because the light at the end of my tunnel had finally appeared, and my moods started getting happier. and I could wake up in the morning and have energy, and I could start to concentrate more throughout the day. But the best part was I was feeling happier because my body was healthier. Um, and I never thought that things could get better, but they did. So I guess the cliche is true, things do get better. But what I want to say to you is that that never moved me to take action. The thought that things would get better didn't seem like reality for me when I wanted so much to be kissed by death. The thought of a better life, it didn't appeal to me. Because when you're in that state, all you want is relief. I'm just being honest, that's just how it is. You just don't want to be here. You just want relief from all of it. So, if I were to say something to anyone out there who's struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts or anything like that, you must take action first before you feel like it. A lot of people think, oh, if I find the hope to live, then I'll take action and then things will get better and I'll go see a professional and I'll start to get some help. But it doesn't work like that. The hope isn't just there's not this magical hope fairy that's just gonna come and sprinkle all this hope on you and then you're gonna wanna go get your life in order and things are gonna be great because, oh, there's hope after depression. I don't even know of one single person that has worked for. What most people have to do, you gotta get to the nitty gritty. You gotta get your butt to either a psychologist or a psychiatrist, a medical doctor, if you might have one of the physical conditions I had or something similar. You've got to, even if you're crying all the way there, you've got to drag your butt there. Get in that door, make an appointment, take action to help yourself, even if you feel like there's no hope in the world. Because you're not going to magically get hope and then want to take action. It's not going to happen. You have to take the action first, and then your mind will get better after you start helping it with help from a psychologist and talking about what you're going through, or maybe getting a prescription from a psychiatrist if your brain is out of balance, or for me, getting a diagnosis and working with a doctor to improve your health. But honestly, guys, the worst advice I got was, hang on, there's hope. You gotta wait for the hope to come. Nah, it's not gonna work. The thing that kept me alive was the sheer hate I felt, especially when I would get extremely suicidal. The thing that kept me alive, this is very, very controversial, was the pure hate and anger I felt, and I didn't want anyone to see the joy of me succumbing to this depression. So if something like really had, I don't want to say triggered, but made me like, well, I was already really, really depressed, but if something kind of just flipped me over the edge, like some argument or something I was having, the one thing that kept me alive was like, I didn't want to give that person who hated me so much and who had said those things the joy of seeing me be bested or be taken advantage of or succumb to their cruelty by killing myself. I didn't want to give them that joy. So that's something that kept me alive. So I would never say that hope was something that motivated me. Say that hate would be something that motivated me. Anger and the threat of being sent to jail. Thank you, Mom, for saving my life. That definitely motivated me. So you guys, I'm coming out of this very dark spell. I'm coming from the end of it. And I'm here to tell you, just take the action to get better. I don't care if you cry all the way to the doctor's office. I don't care if you cry all the way to see a psychologist. I don't care if you're saving that money to buy a new TV. Stop it. You're more important. Spend the money on yourself and get some help. I don't care if you feel like it. I don't care if you feel like crap. First of all, start taking care of yourself. Start eating more. Start trying to get a good night's sleep. Drink water. Stop drinking so much soda and coffee and stuff. But just drag yourself to go get help, because it's worth it. And it does get better. Like, coming out on the other side, I can tell you it does get better. But knowing what I know now, I would tell my younger self that you do need to hang on, because things will turn out okay. But honestly, knowing what I know now, I would go back to my younger self and just beat her up, because she needs to get her butt to a doctor's office and stop messing around. Who cares if the first doctor's office was the worst one that ever existed? Go to another one. Stop being such a wimp. I'm just talking to myself. You guys aren't wimps. I know you're going through something really horrible. So I'm saying don't be a wimp in the sense of, like, don't wimp out on something that could really help you, is what I mean. Like, if you're so close to getting help and you just wimp out on it, well, don't. Just don't. Just stop. Okay. Kind of rambling. I'll post the link below to my website. It has all the things I struggled with, and like all like the medical information. It even has a PDF form you can print out, take it to your doctor, and just like hand it to them and say, kind of says, hey, I've been experiencing these symptoms. Can you help me? Maybe it's this, maybe it's something else. Super easy. It has a lot of information on that, mental health, hypoglycemia, like I talked about, adrenal fatigue, etc., etc. All right. I know it's so hard. It's so hard. Like, I don't know if anyone who hasn't gone through it can know how much you crave the kiss of death. If that makes any sense, how much you don't want to be here. I felt that every day. So, I can say though, the sweetness, that dreaming about ending it, because I know sometimes dreaming about it can give you a lot of happiness, is nothing compared to how you'll feel once you get better. And I know that from experience. All right, so you know what to do. Take action. Once you take action, then the hope will come. Right, everyone? Take care.